Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
They're very well-rounded. They've got left and right in their lineup that they can juggle a little bit, and then they can go left-handed heavy if they want.
You know, I'm sure we're going to get some wind on the weekends. The greens, you can already feel them starting to maybe get some firmness to them. So come Sunday, you know, you won't see the scores like you're seeing.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Thursday afternoon from downtown Columbia, where Columbia lived up to its nickname today, famously hot. Before the little bit of rain that we had came through and cooled things off a little bit. Hope things are nice where you are and you're enjoying a very fine afternoon here in the Palmetto State. Thank you for taking us along with you. If you're heading home in the car, stuck in traffic, relax, sit back, enjoy Sports Talk. You'll make it home sooner or later. Don't rush it. If you're out walking around, going for a jog, maybe you're out walking the dog, hitting a little golf ball, a little tennis ball, you got us in your headset there. We appreciate it. Remember, when you get home, if you're driving home listening to us on the radio, take us in. Don't leave us in the car. Take us in with you on your smartphone. Catch us inside on your laptop or your stereo system in the house. Phil Kornblut and the Professor, Tom Hayes, here on this Thursday night, and Carson Mason once again behind the bulletproof glass. Busy show coming up for you tonight. We're going to be rocking and rolling throughout the broadcast. Mike Morgan will join us here at the bottom of the hour. Mike Morgan on the move. We'll find out what he's got going on, his thoughts on USC, Texas A&M. The Braves getting a win last night. How about that? And we'll talk about the upcoming SEC baseball tournament and just how good that's going to be. Second hour, B.J. Mackey, former USC basketball star, who's going into the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame on Monday night. We'll talk with him about his illustrious career. And Gary Gilmore, Coastal Carolina baseball coach, will join us the bottom of hour number 2 to talk about his team and how he's feeling about possibly hosting a regional. Baseball America has Coastal down as one of the regional hosts at this particular point. All that coming your way, plus a recruiting update and a whole lot more. 800-956-7266, the number, if you'd like to join us. Pro?
Just looking at the NBA Combine, see if I can see if Jerome Blasingame is getting a run for his money.
Well, he said today that if he gets the feeling he's going to go between 25 and 40, he's going to stay in the draft. So that's kind of the range he's looking at, between 25 and 40. Now, one of the concerns about him, the NBA guys have to look at, is that remade leg that he has. You know, the one that he's broke twice, and he's got a rod in there, and he's got some other, some medical science in that leg. It's held up well the last couple of years, but I'm sure that's something that the NBA folks are going to look at very closely during the Combine. All right, we'll get things rolling in a moment. 800-956-7266, the number. You know, this satellite camp thing is just becoming an absolute joke. It's already a joke. I guess it's becoming ridiculous now, especially Michigan. Jim Harbaugh, I don't think he realizes what a fool he's making of himself. You know, he's going to Australia to have a satellite camp. Now, American Samoa is going to get a satellite camp from Michigan. Apparently, he's got plans for like 26 camps for Michigan to participate in. Now, you know, I like what Dabo Swinney is saying about this, and I think others should follow his lead, and that is we don't need this. You know, our school, our campus, they are good enough to attract the players who want to be in our program. And like he said, if a player feels like it's out of his way to come to Clemson for a summer camp, for whatever reason, then it's going to be out of his way to be there for 4 years. He wants people to come to his camp who want to be at Clemson, who want to be in their program. And with everything else that goes on in recruiting circles now, you're not missing anybody when it comes to finding some hidden gem or something like that. The odds of that happening, very, very slim. The expense involved, I read where one school is going to spend $1 million of its budget on satellite camps, getting to satellite camps, things of that nature. And you know, here's my thought is very simple. I mean, I can't say most coaches are against it. I think if you took a secret ballot that was not public, most coaches would vote against this because it eats up their summertime, eats up their time with their family, eats up time that they could be spending in the office or around their own players. And for what? You know, probably nothing. Nothing will come of it. But all the NCAA has to do is say, no, we're not going to do this. And that would be that. I mean, they have the power to say no. You know, why they went against the original ruling in this and rescinded it and then sent it back for further study. Now, my guess is after a year of this nonsense, it's going to go away. That they will either say no or the coaches are going to find out it's not worth the money. The schools are going to find out it's not worth the money. And the coaches are going to find out it's not worth the effort.
I think money talks. And let's build you a scenario where money talks. One of the biggest players in athletics is Nike. You know, even though we have all these flashy uniforms or whatever, and then we have what was that thing they have up in Eugene? They call it when they bring all the players.
The opening.
There, the opening. See, here's the deal. If you're in the Southeast, if you're in Texas, you're in Florida, you're in California, you don't need a satellite camp.
Michigan doesn't need a satellite camp.
No.
I mean, you're right. You know, Michigan is not some run-of-the-mill football program.
Oregon State, Oregon, Pacific Northwest teams, they may need a satellite camp.
It's ridiculous.
Because
American Samoa is 11,000 miles from Ann Arbor.
That actually makes
no sense. It's a 19-and-a-half-hour flight. Here is where Michigan is going to go for satellite camps in June. 2 in Alabama, 4 in California, Connecticut, Georgia, 3 in Florida, Kansas. Oh, they will do 11 in Michigan.
There you go.
Missouri, Mississippi, 2 in New Jersey, 3 in Ohio, South Carolina, Tennessee, 3 in Texas, Virginia, Australia, Hawaii, and Samoa.
Now,
really.
Here you go. I could give Harbaugh a suggestion. As far as I know, the Earth has one natural satellite, and he should hold a satellite camp there. It's called the moon, and he can go up there and have a satellite camp. How about that?
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't announce that in the near future. No, again, this is this is something that is a little bit out of control, getting out of control, and schools being schools and coaches being coaches, they are followers. They're not leaders. They see somebody else doing something and they say, yeah, I've got to do it too. That's why I admire Dabo Swinney in the position that he has taken. He reiterated that today up in Greenville. They've got one of the prowl and growl stops at Fluor Field. He talked to the media before going in to meet the fans and reiterated the fact that they are not going to participate in any satellite camps, which to me sets him above the noise. And his thinking is we can do a better job evaluating players. And if it comes to recruiting, we can do a better job recruiting players on our on-campus than we can in American Samoa or Vermont, wherever you want to throw up a camp. So anyway, just another indictment of lack of institutional control. I'm citing the NCAA with its own rule because the NCAA is in of itself an institution. Lack of institutional control in the NCAA. So, all right, 800-956-7266, the number here on Sports Talk. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. That's how you can reach us tonight here on the program. Mike Morgan coming up in a little bit. Morgan on the move. We'll catch up with Mike, BJ Mackey in our second hour, also Gary Gilmore, and some comments from USC baseball coach Chad Holbrook as he sets the stage for the big showdown this weekend against Texas A&M. And we'll hear from Bill Haas. The Greer native had a very fine round today in round one of the Players. A 7 under 65 leaves him 2 shots behind the leader. Oof. You shoot 7 under, you feel like you're going to have the lead at most places, especially at TPC Sawgrass. But nope, Jason Day, 9 under 63, ties the course record. He stands alone. There's a 5-way tie for second with Haas, Cameron Tringale, Shane Lowry, Justin Rose, and Brendan Steele, all at 7 under. Ernie L's a good day for him. He's in at 6 under 66. And let's see, some of the other golfers of note that we keep an eye on. Zach Johnson, 5 under. He's playing the 18th. Adam Scott is 3 under, playing the 18th. Phil Mickelson, 2 under 70. Luke Donald at 2 under. Vijay Singh at 2 under. The old guys, Haas and Mickelson and Singh, stepping up. Matt Kuchar is 1 under, playing the last. Davis Love III is 1 under, playing the 18th for him, which is number 9. Bubba Watson is 1 under through 15. Dustin Johnson had it to 3 under through 10. He's dropped back to 1 under through 15. Jordan Spieth, his first tournament since his Masters collapse, and he comes in at even par 72. Bill McGirt, a 72. Rory McIlroy, even through 15. Russell Henley's 1 over through 16. Scott Brown, +1 through 15. Kevin Kisner, 2 over 74. And Ben Martin, a 3 over 75. The course played, according to Jay Haas, the course played very easy today. Not much wind at all. 3-4 miles an hour tops. The greens were receiving everything. So it was there for the taking today. If you didn't get a piece of it today, it might be too little too late for you, because no doubt the conditions are going to toughen up over the next 3 days at the Players down in Jacksonville or Ponte Vedra. Let's see what else is going on. Braves back in action tonight after winning last night. They wrap up their series at home tonight against the Phillies. In the NBA playoffs, the Warriors move on. Terrific game last night against Portland. I mean, look, what else can you say about Steph Curry that hasn't already been said? He was just phenomenal. Klay Thompson was phenomenal, and they move on, to the Western Conference Finals. They will await Oklahoma City and San Antonio, and they play tonight in Oklahoma City. And the Thunder need 1 win to advance.
Well, the interesting thing about it is the most explosive backcourt, Oklahoma City, and, of course, Golden State's backcourt. And you got a guy who went to a Southern Conference school and a guy who went to Washington State that played slow-down ball, and they have the most explosive backcourt this side of OKC.
Oh, somebody ought to tell Dabo that they played 15 games last year. Looking at a picture here from a helmet he signed up in Greenville that was put on Twitter. He signed his name, Go Tigers, Dabo Swinney, but up above, he wrote 14-0. Oh. Forgot about that last one there, Dabo.
They won 14 in a row.
Yeah. But don't you think really you should put 14-1? I mean, that was the actual record. That's what's in the record book. 14-1, not 14-0. You did play that final game.
14-0 plus one championship game. That stands alone.
All right, a few other notes for you here this afternoon. USC softball loses quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. They fall to Tennessee 5-1. So 36-21 for the USC softball team. I don't know. That should be good enough to get them into the NCAA tournament.
Well, plus the victories they had against about 3/4 of the SEC that's all in the top 25.
Yeah, SEC softball is really good, too. Oh, here's an interesting little thing. Now, you draw your own conclusion what all this means. This was on Twitter. I think this was our boys in Knoxville at the radio station there that we work with sometimes, Jimmy Himes. But I'm not 100% sure. But this was a tweet put out by a Knoxville sports station. Anyway, every SEC football team ranked by the number of players arrested or cited by law enforcement between May 1, 2014 and May 1, 2016, 2-year period. All stats were found on Arrest Nation, which I happen to check frequently just for family members. Now, Georgia and Florida are tied at the top with 11. Ole Miss with 9, Alabama, LSU, Mississippi State, Kentucky with 8, Auburn with 7, Texas A&M and Tennessee with 6, Arkansas with 3, Missouri with 3, Vanderbilt with 0, USC with 0. So on the one hand, you say, well, that's just great. You got good kids, good character, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and you're staying out of trouble. But then again, you flip it around and you say, well, and then you throw Missouri in there, 3 arrests. I mean, the bottom 3 on this list were the bottom 3 in the SEC last football season. Pretty much, right? South Carolina, Vandy, Missouri. My point is that good guys are nice, but good guys don't win. And I guarantee you, ain't a Georgia fan or a Florida fan out there who wouldn't take their 11 arrests and exchange it.
Can I twist it
for
another way?
What?
Teams that lose, their guys have nothing to celebrate, so they don't go out and get in trouble. They drown their sorrows.
I'm not sure how many of these arrests occurred right after a victory. Maybe some did. But my point is, you know what? To be good in football, you got to have a little bit of you know what in there. We'll be right back. Welcome back in Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Thursday from downtown Columbia, here on Main Street, because we are the Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to all points west, your final word in sports every night in South Carolina, your most informed, your most intelligent, your most blunt, and when I'm talking, your most handsome word in sports. It is time now for an edition of Morgan on the Move. Mike Morgan joining us from the ATL before he's on the move this weekend. Mike, how are you?
I'm good. I like the fact that we're freshening up the title of this segment every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Keeps it new.
That's the thing. Cutting edge. We're all about being cutting edge. Yes,
That's
indeed.
right.
And
we don't need consistency around here.
No.
We have attention deficit disorder.
That's called boring. Consistency equals boring.
I hear you.
Mike is brought to you by Play It Again Sports in Columbia. Chris Mosley, the gang there, they have everything you need in way of golf equipment, fitness equipment, water sports, and more. They're at Bauer Parkway in Harbison, and by Founders Federal Credit Union. Check out foundersfcu.com. Learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. Many things to talk about. Let's begin with USC Texas A&M. Great matchup. This will be South Carolina's fourth pairing in the SEC against a top 10 opponent. Ole Miss, Vandy, Florida, all ranked in the top 10 when the Gamecocks played them. So they're used to these big weekend series. This Texas A&M team, and you look at them on paper, and they look almost unbeatable.
Yeah, I think they're the second most talented team in the league, which you could make an argument the second most talented team in the SEC this year is the second most talented team in the country. Much like Florida, they're extremely balanced. And when you look at the top teams in college baseball, you're just not going to do it being one-dimensional. You could have stud pitching staff with frontline starters, great relievers, and if you can't hit, it's going to catch up to you. And obviously anybody knows that if you don't have good pitching, you're not going very far in the postseason. So I think it's a great matchup for a number of different reasons. And the one thing that has been proven over this season is that South Carolina can play with anybody. When you split Florida, who knows what would have happened if they got that third game in. Really, what has been the problem for the Gamecocks this year and maybe in previous years is beating some of the lesser teams. Those are the guys that have snuck up, whether it's in Georgia, whether it's but they'll have their hands full with Texas A&M, and they're an exciting team to watch too. I mean, I love their lineup. Of course, the pitcher that stole the national spotlight last week was Kyle Simons with the no-hitter, which is the first one in SEC play since 1994. Pretty amazing when you think about that. But they are solid top to bottom, and I would expect somebody to take 2 out of 3. I would expect great crowds and just great baseball played in Columbia.
Well, you know, the interesting thing, when you look at Texas A&M, just like the body language, it seems, Mike, that they bring a football mentality to the diamond.
Well, I think that starts in the state of Texas. If you look at that roster, you're going to see a bunch of Texas kids, and obviously when you think of Texas, you think of football, but really it's a great baseball state. What's kind of mesmerizing to me is how Texas A&M is really good now, and TCU has been good, and Texas Tech might be the only non-SEC ACC school to garner a national seed. What the heck has happened to the Longhorns? I mean, I don't know how you explain that. They have more money than God, and they've got tradition, and they've got the winningest coach of all time, who I'm hearing now of losing his job at the end of the year. So the teams that have taken advantage of Texas's demise, I think front and center is Texas A&M. And Texas A&M is not going anywhere anytime soon. I think they're built for the long haul. They have a beautiful ballpark for those that have not been. It's one of my favorite venues in college baseball. They've got, obviously, the recruiting ground, and they're starting to develop their own tradition, kind of living in the shadows of Texas all those years. So they're here to stay. This is not kind of a blip on the radar. The Aggies will be good in baseball for a long time.
Talking with Mike Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk, and SEC tournament coming up very, very soon, and looking at of the standings as we go into this weekend. And really, 7-8 teams, almost any team that gets into the main draw, avoids playing the play-in games, any of those other teams, you'd have to say they have a great shot at winning the championship. I guess whichever team has the deeper pitching that can get them on through the weekend is going to have the best chance of being standing there on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and I'm glad you threw that caveat in terms of the teams that do not play the play-in game. If you're playing that extra game, I don't think you have a chance of winning it. You burn up way too many arms. If you've got the first round bye, it's a huge advantage. And certainly you're right. It will be there are a handful of teams that I really think can win it. And I know that's, people say that every year. It's a nice cliche to kind of rattle off, but more often than not, that's not true. It's really not in the SEC. There's not 5 teams that can win it every year. This year, I truly believe there are, which could make for an interesting tournament. I think, though, when you look at the motivation of that, the teams at the top and the teams, of course, at the bottom have the most to play for. If you're in the middle, you almost wish you could just bypass it and get right to regional play. But if you're on the border for a national seed, you obviously want to make your case that much stronger by winning a game or two to make sure you get in that top 8. We know how big an advantage that is. And obviously, if you're a bubble team to make it to the NCAA tournament, say for example, a Kentucky, break your season in terms of making the postseason or not. So those are the teams I always look for because they're the most motivated. The ones in the middle very often seem to me like they can't wait to get out of Hoover, Alabama.
Well, you explain to us a team that I like, Matt, from the beginning, Mississippi State. If I'm not mistaken, Mike, I think they still have not lost this year. How are they doing it?
Good question. I've actually got them again. I've got them the next 2 weeks. I've got them at Auburn this weekend, and I go down and then to Starkville the following week. And I've already had them a few times. They are a really complete team. They're not as sexy as Florida, A&M, South Carolina, Vanderbilt. They don't have as many maybe first-round draft picks, although they got a lot of kids that are going to get drafted high. But they are just a team that knows how to win. I think they lead the nation in 2-out RBIs. They were leading that in that category a couple weeks ago. They've had several one-run victories. They're the kind of team that you don't see coming that winds up winning a World Series because they're not the most talented and they're not the team that has the most eye-popping statistics. But boy, oh boy, they're solid in every area. They're well coached. And they just have a knack of winning close games.
Talking with Mike Morgan here on Sports Talk. Let's switch gears and talk about satellite football camps. What's your opinion?
Nice transition. I like that.
That's what we
Why
do
don't we
here.
Talk about the Oscar winners from the 80s while we're at it.
That'll be after the break.
Okay.
Satellite football camps. Your opinion?
Doesn't bother me a bit. I thought the SEC overreacted. It almost put a scent in the air that SEC schools had a reason to be paranoid that all of a sudden if we had satellite camps that the Big Ten would start dominating the SEC in football. Guess what? It's not going to happen. The SEC will be fine whether there's satellite camps, no satellite camps, whether Jim Harbaugh is hosting satellite camps in his man cave in Ann Arbor. It doesn't matter. The appeal of SEC schools has never been stronger, and I don't think satellite camps are going to take away from that in recruiting.
Yeah, don't you think it's a little ridiculous to allow a school like Michigan to have 26 satellite camps, to travel to Australia, to travel to American Samoa, to travel to Hawaii? I mean, don't you think the NCAA, not the SEC, I'm not pinpointing the SEC. I'm just saying that college football in general and the NCAA as the governing body, don't you think they should show some sort of restraint and some leadership here? Hang on, we got to hit a break. I'll let you answer that on the other side. Right. Mike Morgan, on the move. See, I like that. It's kind of like MOM, or we refer to him as Mom. Mike, on the move. Morgan, Mike Morgan, on the move. Mom. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. It's Mom here on Sports Talk. Morgan on the move. The not being emphasized. The Morgan on the move. That's our acronymic name for this segment now. Morgan on the move. We'll hear a little bit from Dabo Swinney. He was in Greenville tonight, and he spoke with the media prior to going into speaking to the Clemson fans. He'll bring you a little bit of what he had to say. BJ Mackey coming up in the next hour. Gary Gilmore as well. We are absolutely loaded. We're obviously starting at the bottom and working our way toward the top. Back to Mike. So anyway, Michigan, 26 camps. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think we all know the motivation for it. Number one, Jim, I think, likes getting a little attention, getting aroused out of some other folks. And, of course, like any other coach, he's trying to find an edge, trying to find a recruiting edge. And, whether or not that works, I don't know. I don't know what motivates kids anymore. Seriously, some would say, whatever happened to the student athlete. I mean, come on. If you think you follow recruiting, Phil, you make those phone calls, you talk to these kids. Mm-hmm. Do 90% of them strike you as kids that their number one priority of going to college is the academics?
No, hardly any express that.
Okay, so we can move past that argument, right? I mean, that's just the theoretical. It's not the practical anymore. So once we move past that, what is going to motivate it? What is going to move the needle for a lot of these kids? A free trip to Australia might do it. I don't know. I mean, that would be pretty cool if I was an 18, 19-year-old kid. I wouldn't mind going there. Does it take away from your academics? Yeah, you bet it does. But again, if they're not worried about that in the first place, then that's not really a factor. So you asked a question, an interesting one going to the break, and that is, what should the NCAA do? What is their role? I think at this point, the NCAA has become a very weak and feeble organization. Mm-hmm. When you watch what little they've been able to do with incredible scandals, such as the one with North Carolina basketball, that it looks like the men's team is going to have very little repercussions, if any. We've seen this been going on now. What's going to happen to Ole Miss after a player goes on national TV on draft day and admits that he took money from a coach? Mm-hmm. Do you expect anything heavy to come down in Oxford? I don't. I think now the NCAA is just a minor governing body, but the people that control college football are the major conferences, the Power Five. And unless you have those other conferences, again, going out of their way to stop it, which it doesn't look like they're doing anymore, then I think this might be a Pandora's box, but it's one that you might as well just start to accept, because that's going to be the norm more so than an aberration in the future.
Yeah, it's a shame because, again, you have an organization like the NCAA that over the years has thumped schools for the most, ridiculous things. And then you see something like this and you say, you wonder, you sit back and you go, where are the people in charge? Where's the muscle? Where are the people who sit up and say, no, this is not a good idea. We're not going to do this. And it really isn't a good idea. You shouldn't be allowed to set up camps for recruiting purposes. My whole argument has been that they're missing the crux of the problem. The whole crux of the problem in college sports starts with recruiting. I think if you could go in and resolve that and start to ease up on the emphasis on recruiting, you might solve a lot of other problems along the way. But so much of it is based on recruiting and cheating in recruiting and trying to get an edge in recruiting. And I think that they're ignoring the whole idea of backing off recruiting. Instead, it's more put the pedal to the metal and do more and more and more.
Well, it's almost as if they've raised their hands up and said, I give up.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to find an edge. You said the word cheating. I'll be a little more euphemistic, by using the term finding an edge. And it's kind of the point where if everybody's doing it, how can one little organization in Indianapolis or wherever the heck they're stationed these days, how can they do anything to truly stop it? And then anytime they try and stop a school or punish a school, it becomes a major legal ordeal, and all of a sudden, they don't have subpoena power. They don't have the powers of something like a governmental agency like the FBI or the CIA. They really have to go on a lot of hearsay, and the burden of proof is always on them. And coaches now that do cheat are so good at covering their tracks. I mean, I remember years ago, Phil, when it used to be, to go back to the academic side, where you had to have, a 2.0 and a 700. This is the old SAT.
Yes.
When I took it anyway, and a 700. If you couldn't get a 700, then chances are you weren't cut out for college anyway. I know some people will find that offensive. So be it. If you can't get a 2.0 and a 700, you shouldn't be ready for a major college. And they even got rid of that. They
hang on 1 second, Mike. We got to hit a quick break here. We'll let you finish up your thoughts in just a moment here on Sports Talk. All right, final couple of minutes here with Morgan on the move. How do you like the mom reference? Morgan on the move, mom.
It would have been nice if you gave me something for Mother's Day, but I don't recall getting any gifts.
Well, I'm coming to Atlanta this weekend. I was going to hand deliver, but you're not going to be there.
Okay. So. Okay, well, I'll be back on Sunday. You can hand deliver it on Sunday.
It'll be waiting at your front door.
Fantastic.
And I'm going to cut your yard while I'm there. I think it would take about 4 minutes to cut your grass, right?
Low maintenance. That's what it's all about.
All right, let's wrap things up. NCAA. And here's the thing. I mean, I hear what you're saying about the way things used to be, the 700, the 2.0. You could spell your name, you were going to get in. And they've tightened all that up, and that's all good.
My point was actually in the opposite direction.
Right,
I think they've loosened it up. I don't even think they care anymore. There was a time where, like, you really I think of a guy, for example, like Travis Henry out of frost-proof Florida, who somehow miraculously made the cut and got into Tennessee. But at least there were questions and doubts. If you couldn't get the minimum requirements, then a lot of kids had to go Prop 48, had to go JUCO. We've gotten rid of that almost to the point where if there's a will, there's a way that they'll get them in school. It's almost like they don't even care. They don't want to battle the people claiming that test scores are biased and the people claiming that they just don't want to deal with it. So I think we've pretty much decided just get in whoever you can get in. Character obviously is not an issue for a lot of head coaches. They will sell their soul to the devil in a second. And the moment you hate on the coach for doing that, well, then you realize he's going to get fired if he doesn't take a chance on some of those kids. So we're just in a different day and age, Phil. I think when you look at the way college athletics is run, and it's never been better in terms of the product on the field, in terms of the passion and the excitement, and I love it more than ever. But I do realize what you're getting and the way things are operating now. To sit there and spend countless amount of time on making sure everything's on the up and up, and they're true student athletes and everything else, you'll drive yourself crazy with that mentality, because the reality is just it's far from it in my estimation.
All right, last thing, we gotta let you go, but I'm sure you saw the tweet came out of Knoxville today ranking SEC schools by arrests over the last 2 years. And if you look at that list, it's like the better teams have the more arrests, the poorer teams have the no arrests.
Right.
And I'm saying,
Right.
I think most fans would prefer to have more arrests and more wins, don't you think?
Well, that's you just drove home my point for me in one stat and one reality.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's in part that's kind of where we are in a lot of ways. People will overlook a lot of sins if you wind up winning on the field.
Yep. Okay, Mike, have a great weekend. You're doing the Auburn and Mississippi State game on Saturday.
Correct.
Have a good one. What channel?
SEC Network.
SEC Network. Mike on the move in Auburn. Look out. Okay, man. Have a good weekend.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's what they said about Urban Meyer. He got away with so many arrests at Florida, and that's the guy from Bianchi wrote, Al Bianchi wrote, I think he said, he bring
Mike
out
Bianchi.
Mike Bianchi. He bring out the deodorizer.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow.
Oh, again, win on Saturday, and these, arrest records are largely overlooked by people. Top of the hour. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Thanks again to Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk. Let's give you the recruiting report for tonight's, and we update offensive lineman TJ Moore out of Charlotte. He's up to 290, 6'6", 290. One time a USC lean, now says open, no favorite, no short list. He was at the USC cookout in late April. Sean Elliott, USC recruiter line coach, was by the school on Monday, and they have let Moore know through his coaches that they still want him very badly. Play right guard or right tackle in college, he says. He says he does not have any top schools right now. He does like the way Sean Elliott keeps in touch with him every day, talking, texting. Clemson's also been by a couple of weeks ago. Danny Pearman was there. They want him to come to camp, and he plans to oblige. And he will also make a return visit to USC this summer. He'll also see Tennessee, Florida State, Alabama, Notre Dame, possibly Oregon. And that is not the only recruiter that's pushing the Gamecocks on Moore. His teammate, Eric Douglas, offensive lineman, who's already committed to the Gamecocks, he said he's in his ear every day about him going to USC. USC is the leader for defensive back Renard Bozeman, 5'11", 173, Lauderdale Lakes, Florida. He's a corner. Gamecock defensive coordinator Tavares Robinson handling the recruiting and is working Bozeman very hard. He's been in touch with some players at USC that he knows and getting some favorable response from them. And he said that Robinson likes how he's a physical player, a smart player, always locked in on the receiver. He's not yet been to USC. He plans to visit the second week in June. Despite favoring the Gamecocks right now, he's not at the point where he's thinking of a commitment. He has Mississippi State second on his list, not too far behind USC. He also likes Kentucky and Arkansas, but he said USC is recruiting him the hardest. USC continues to monitor the progress of 2016 receiver Jericho Morris, Crystal Springs, Mississippi. Signed with Jones Junior College, Mississippi in February as a fallback. Should he fail to qualify, his coach, Stephen Rice, said recently USC remains interested and is waiting to see how Morris does on the ACT. He talked recently with Gamecock recruiter Brian McClendon, and McClendon told him that Morris has a scholarship whenever he gets qualified. For those of you who might have read these stories on our website, pardon all the mistakes that I've made. I was drunk when I wrote these stories. Just my typing and my spelling is abysmal. One more note. UNC Asheville point guard Dylan Smith committed last night to Arizona while he was out there on his official visit. Clemson was one of the schools he had been considering, was going to visit next week, but he has shut it down now with his commitment to the Wildcats. And we'll be back. BJ Mackey up next. And we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We are going to have B.J. Mackey tomorrow night at this time. We got our signals crossed, and he's actually on a recruiting visit as we speak. He was thinking we were doing it tomorrow night, and I was thinking tonight. We just got our signals crossed. He'll be with us tomorrow night to talk about his induction on Monday night into the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame.
Well, you mentioned they need to put a control on recruiting. See, we can't even get an interview done because somebody's out there recruiting.
Man, why don't you guys take a break? Stay home, relax, see the family. Let the recruits come to you. All right, so we'll get BJ tomorrow night. Gary Gilmore, Coastal Carolina baseball coach, coming up a little bit later on. Now, up in Greenville tonight, it's the 5th stop of the Prowl and Growl Tour for Dabo Swinney, Brad Brownell, the Clemson folks. Dabo Swinney spoke with the media before going inside to sign autographs and meet with the fans. Here is some audio that we have for you, courtesy of the Orange and White, the Anderson Independent Mail. The audio is okay. It's not the greatest because it was coming off the condenser mic in the camera as best we can. This is Dabo talking with the media, coming off the 14-1 season, and how he is dealing with the expectations for this coming year while also kind of enjoying what the Tigers accomplished back in 2015.
Maybe just a little more validation as far as where we are as a program, maybe from years past, just because, again, we all had an experience last year, our fans, our players, the coaches, that nobody's ever had. Nobody's ever won 14 games at Clemson, and certainly to be back in the national championship hunt for the first time in a long time. I think that was great for everybody, and it's definitely fueled our fan base, especially when some of the guys that are coming back, and you saw the performance last year, and it's just natural instinct to go, wow, okay, we did good last year, surely he's going to do good this year. And that's not always the case. That's why as coaches we always talk about starting over, and you got to go prove it and earn it all over again.
Always been a big name, but after this last year, it's kind of like you're one of the biggest names in college football now. Are you comfortable with that attention? Is that something that you can just turn into momentum for the program and notoriety?
I don't really look at it that way. I mean, I just. It's not about me. I mean, it's about our program. It's about, as our program has success, the light gets brighter for everybody. Not just me, but I don't really seek that. That's just kind of a consequence, if you will, of having a successful program. But I just try to stay focused on the things that matter, and stay dialed in on what we're trying to do, how we're trying to get there in the program. And I don't really get distracted by that stuff. I really don't. But I'm just getting older. That's really the biggest thing. As you get older, other guys move on. It's like anything. It's like being a freshman. Eventually, you become a senior, and I feel comfortable where we are at Clemson, personally and professionally, and look forward to many years to come.
Dabo Swinney, accompanied by some very loud music. They're outside at Fluor Field doing that. And again, we're getting us off video camera using the condenser mic, not a handheld mic close to him. So you're going to pick up all the background noise. One more piece from Dabo, asked about the satellite camps and his position about not participating in the satellite camps. Here's what he had to say tonight.
First of all, to each his own. I'm not here to tell other people how to run their program, and people do whatever they want to do. Everybody's got to run their program the way they see fit. And satellite programs camps are not new. This stuff's been going on forever. It's just the ACC and SEC we've not participated in that. And And so when the rule went national, and then it got revoked or whatever, now it's open to everybody. That doesn't change anything for us. And again, what other people want to do, that's their business. I mean, I'm gonna run Clemson and focus on what we got to do, the things that I believe in. So I'd say that first and foremost, to each his own. But just as a whole, I'm very much against satellite cams because I think as football coaches, we should do everything that we possibly can do to keep our recruiting scholastic, because we're the only sport left out there that is set up that way, whereas all of our recruiting is done on our campus and on the high school campus. And I don't think it's good when you start getting third parties involved and things like that. And, I think the other big thing for me is I don't know what people are doing with their time. I mean, my coaches are on the road for 5 weeks. Like right now, Thursday the 12th, I've got all my coaches out at satellite camps, and they're watching football practice right now. So they're gone for 5 weeks. They can go anywhere they want to go. They're watching football practices. They're watching track meets. They're getting grades. They're assessing character. They're doing all this evaluation for 5 weeks, and now they're going to come off the road, and I got to take them on the road again for 2 more weeks to do what we're supposed to be doing the last 5 weeks. That's just my own personal opinion. And, at the end of the day, for me, it all comes back to they got to come to Clemson. I mean, we're going to go and we're going to evaluate and we're going to do all the things that we need to do as a program to assess a young man's ability and whether or not he's a fit for our program. But at the end of the day, they got to come to Clemson, whether it's unofficially or they come to a camp. And if they're not going to do that, it's too inconvenient to do that. Well, they're not coming for 4 years. It's kind of my deal on that. But the bigger problem that I have with the satellite camps is there's no restrictions, there's no parameters, like none. So, I mean, I could go to South Beach and have a satellite camp and maybe have Beyonce perform at halftime or something. I mean, why not? Yeah. Because there's no rules, there's no parameters, and so I just think that it's just one of those things that eventually people will get their arms around. But it doesn't affect us at all at Clemson. I mean, we have 4,000 kids coming to camp. 4,000, and we're very fortunate, very blessed. Not everybody is going to get that amount of kids on their campus, and I understand that, but everybody's getting evaluated. That's for sure, and especially in today's world. So we're looking forward to having our camps for a couple weeks in June and coaching football. That's what we do, and that's why our camps have grown. We coach football. We don't do combines, we coach. And from second grade up to seniors. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of it.
All right, Dabo Swinney, I agree with him wholeheartedly. Now, I'm not involved in the football recruiting business in terms of, going around and recruiting athletes and scouting and evaluating and all that. And maybe, in the minds of some coaches, it's a worthwhile experience. And every opportunity you get a chance to go somewhere to scout a kid or meet a kid you feel like is going to be to your advantage. I like Dabo's approach. To me, it's a common sense approach. And, maybe the rest of college football and the leadership should take notice of what he's saying and, and apply some common sense thinking to this whole recruiting process.
Well, he's been successful at what he does, and he doesn't want to gravitate from what has been a tremendous successful formula for him. And let's face it, Phil, you talk to recruits, they know of Clemson. They know the talent at Clemson. They've seen on television Clemson. But if you talk to some recruits, they actually don't know where Clemson is. Dabo wants them on that campus. Oh, you didn't know this was in South Carolina. You didn't know it was in these beautiful hills. Look at the lake. You can't show the lake at a satellite.
Yeah, he's always believed.
You want to bring,
but that's the same thing that Muschamp believes too. Muschamp believes, first and foremost, get them on campus. But he's also a believer of if the rules say we can do it, we're going to try and do it. Be right back. Now, I can certainly understand why Will Muschamp would take advantage of these rules because he's new and his staff, they're new, and they want to get out and in front of as many coaches and prospects as they can because they're trying to build their program from the ground up. I can certainly understand that. Dabo having a more established program, having a successful program, now having a national elite program that played for the national championship last year, doesn't feel the need to do that. It's more of you need to come to me instead of me coming to you. You can do that when you're talking from a position of strength. And I can understand the lesser lights, the lower level schools, but then you've got Michigan, which, is a nationally, and I understand Harbaugh is trying to stick it to the SEC and Florida State and these Southern powers by saying, I'm going to come right in your backyard and do these things. This is where there is lack of institutional control. The NCAA needs to penalize itself for lack of institutional control because they cannot control the people that they rule over. It's ridiculous. Oh, my goodness. And how much money do the people who run the NCAA make? How many millions do the top level officials of the NCAA make? It's highway robbery. And I mean, the NCAA as an institution with its billion-dollar contracts, multiple with the various TV networks for the NCAA tournament and all that. And, they don't have the money to be able to create the enforcement system to stop this, or it's, I get frustrated with it because, like all of us, we love college sports. We love the passion that college sports brings out of everybody. It's just all the stuff on the side that is such a turnoff about college sports. I love college sports is fat. Have a major heart attack at some point in time because its arteries are being filled with grease and fat. No, true. This is why I love the NFL. The NFL is a mean, lean machine. Go to an NFL game and look at the sidelines. What do you see? Hardly anything. You have the players and you have the coaches and you have the medical personnel, and that's about it. Go to a college game and look at the sideline. You got the team, of course. Now you got 100 and something players on a college team compared to an NFL team, which will have 48 active players. But college game, you've got your big money givers who want to stand on the sideline. You got your recruits, you got your team, it's crowded. The college sideline is very crowded.
Mm-hmm.
Former players come back, they want to stand on the sideline. Look at an NFL sideline. It's lean, and of course the NFL, being the socialistic league that it is, where everybody shares equally, even the worst team in the league gets the same amount of money as the best team in the league.
And if you mess it up, it's your fault.
Yeah, but the point is that makes for a great league, and everybody looks out for everybody. In college sports, there's nothing else, nothing like it in any sort of organized sports where it is more cutthroat and sticking a knife in the back of your neighbor like there is in college sports. Now, stop me if you've heard this before in the last few weeks. Braves are losing 1-0 to Philadelphia, but it's
early.
It's still early. Let's jump back into college baseball. Big weekend ahead. USC home to Texas A&M, 3 big ones there. Clemson going to Georgia Southern, and Coastal Carolina having a fabulous year, going on the road to play 3 at Charleston Southern beginning tomorrow night. Coach Gary Gilmore joining us here on Sports Talk. Long time no talk to, but it's good to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. And yourself?
We're great. And how do you feel about where you are at this stage of the season? Record looks great. You're in great shape in the Big South, 34-14, 16-2 in league play after sweeping Liberty. How are you feeling about things?
I feel good. We just got to keep getting better, and hopefully, things will work out and give us a chance to get in the postseason and see how far we can take this thing.
What has been the secret for this team coming together the way it has and putting together just a kind of dominant year inside the league that you've had?
It's a veteran group of position players, been together for 2 or 3 years, and we've had some injuries a couple years ago that derailed the whole development of several of them, and had some again last year as well. But this year, our new strength trainer, Coach Nick White, and Barry Lippman, our other trainer, have been phenomenal in keeping the guys healthy and strong. And there's some talented guys on out of that group, and they've been playing well. They really want to have a opportunity to win the Big South, and see if we do enough stuff to possibly play at home. It's probably a major long shot at this point, but we're still plugging along and force them to have to overlook us.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you subscribe to Baseball America, or somebody at your place does, and they've consistently last several weeks had you guys in as a regional host. I mean, they like what you've done so far and feel like you're worthy.
Well, I appreciate it, and it's all, you know how this stuff goes. I've said it several times this year, we can go from the penthouse to the outhouse in a matter of 72 hours. So, it's, you just keep plugging along. And for me, it's, just trying to be very humble and very focused that, heck, it's one game at a time and one day at a time. And, if we keep progressing, we've got to get better. The Georgia Tech series, we should have won at least one game. We had a game in our hand, let it get away, and I think that affected us in that second game that same day. And we learned some things about ourselves that we have to get better at. We worked real hard last week and performed well. This will be another test for us to go to Charleston Southern and be able to play extremely well, pitch very well. We'll see how things go.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that Georgia Tech weekend because you were on a roll and you go into Atlanta, and like you said, you had a couple of chances there, just didn't go your way. You talked about learning something. What did you learn about your team that you perhaps can fix and help you here down the stretch?
Well, we've made some starting pitching changes in personnel and put some people back in some spots that feel like they're better suited for. And offensively, we see how the higher caliber people tend to pitch us, and we're working very hard at nothing against the Big South, but we've got to be able to play against high caliber ACC and SEC pitching, and it's not about velocity as much as it is about all the off speed stuff. Mm-hmm. And being able to hit them in counts that the guys are talented enough, at least the real good ones. They give you a lot of stuff that you're not looking for in normal everyday hitting counts and things, and just learning how to get better at handling that and having better at bats. We have a very potent offensive team. We've got to continue to learn. Georgia Tech, we swung way too early in counts and some things. It's humbling it's been a while since we're at home or away. We've lost 3 games on a weekend, and So they humbled all of us, and so every now and then that's not when you're in the middle of it, you feel like it's the worst thing in the world. And then when you step back and you look at it and go, well, hey, listen, they did a great job, and we weren't quite up to the task, and so we've got to get better. So I'd rather that happen now than a month from now.
Yeah.
Then it's too late. So we're very aware that even though we have a good team and have a lot of positive things, we have to continue to get better.
I know you take it the old one game at a time deal. You still have some work ahead of you, but do you allow yourself to kind of look at the rest of your schedule, see where you are nationally, and kind of formulate in your mind, okay, this is what I think we've got to do here down the stretch to be in a strong position to host a regional, to be one of those 16 teams?
I mean, I do in my mind. I just don't say it out loud.
We'll say it out. We want you to say it out loud. That was the point of the question. What do you think you have to do down the stretch to be there?
Me personally, I think we have to run the table.
Okay.
I mean, that's and again, the last thing I want my kids to do is look at, okay, well, we got to do win 13 or 14 in a row. Well, that's really, I don't care who you are and who you playing. That ain't easy to do, So, but this team is capable of doing that, and we've just got to take one day at a time, one pitch at a time, and grind our way through it. And if we somehow do that, I can't imagine having that type of record and not being a host.
Yeah.
So just like I heard you talking about, USC's got, A&M coming in there. I mean, we don't have an RPI opponent outside of Wilmington on Tuesday that, gives us, really on the remaining part of our schedule in our league, it doesn't give us an opportunity for those big RPI wins. So we've just got to grind through it. And, again, you hope that you're the best team on that day every day. And that's the only way I can look at it. And, if we lose along the way, we lose. We probably have to go on the road. But, then so be it. Trying to deal with that too. If we do, what's that bring to the table? I don't think the road's all that bad for the most part, depending on where they send you. I mean, our ballpark is tailor-made for our team. Mm-hmm. And, that's one of the things for me personally. It's a fantastic group of older kids. I mean, I'd love to see them, have the opportunity to lever to our new stadium and, just see how we fare.
Well, you're 14th in the RPI going into this week. So, I mean, you're right in there, and you're ahead of Georgia Tech, a team that, just took 3 from you. So now we'll see what happens moving forward. Real quick, this matchup with Charleston Southern this weekend, what do you see in Stewart's team?
Well, he's his number one guy, Evan Rayner, is one of the top pitchers in our league, and he's got a 2.4 something ERA, and I think he's thrown like 70 innings, giving up like 45 hits. I mean, so I know we're gonna have our hands full. So for him both on the mound defensively, and I think over time, if we grind out the at bats like we did at Liberty last weekend, I mean, we'll get some hits and we'll do some things and stuff. But I mean, it needs to, we got to have a great focused effort across the board. And again, if they beat us, they beat us. But my biggest challenge is as in anything, kids are picking up. They hear talk shows like yours. They read this and read that, and they look at a record and whatever. And shoot, man, my biggest challenge right now is can we come out focused for 3 days and play really well, against a team that has shown it can play well at times. It just hasn't done it consistently, and make sure that that we don't stumble once or twice.
Yeah. Coach, as always, we appreciate the visit. Good luck this weekend, and we're going to be talking a lot of baseball with you the weeks ahead, and we thank you for the time as always.
Listen, anytime. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate what you do for college baseball.
Thank you,
Take
sir.
care.
Thank you. Gary Gilmore, Coastal Carolina. All right, thanks again to Gary Gilmore. You know, Coastal, as I said, 14 RPI coming into the week. 16 teams host. I mean, you know, Florida, Louisville, Miami, Texas A&M, South Carolina. Those 5 will host. Florida State will host 6. Ole Miss will host 7. See, Clemson, they're not projected to host, so that opens up a spot there. I've given 7. NC State could probably host. That'd be 8. Vandy, 9. Texas Tech will host 10. Mississippi State will be 11. Don't think North Carolina will host. That's 11. And I haven't gotten to Coastal yet, so Coastal would be 12. Then who else? Maybe LSU.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they'll host 13. Definitely. TCU will probably host 14. Somebody out west, Santa Barbara's 20th. Is Santa Barbara the highest RPI team from the West Coast? Let me see. Yeah. You got to go down to number 20 to find the first team from the West Coast.
That's
in
scary.
The RPI.
That is scary.
So that's about what I give you, 15 or so there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Michigan, I wouldn't let Michigan host because of those satellite camps.
Gosh.
I just say, you know what?
Man.
You want to go do satellite camps in Australia? Go right ahead. You're not hosting a regional.
But that's their football
That's how I
crazy
would
guy.
get
That's
even.
not there.
All right, thanks to Coach Gilmore. Braves are still losing 1-0. Today, first round to play at the Players. Some like to call it the 5th major. I don't. 4 majors are plenty. We don't need a 5th. Why do we need a 5th major? Why is it we can't leave well enough alone in sports? Why is it 4 majors aren't good enough? You know, I know television, of course, wants to promote it as a 5th major.
One for the thumb.
Yeah. I mean, we don't need a 5th. Why do we don't have to have a 5th. Why do we need a 5th major? We don't need a 5th major.
I was about to say we don't need a 5th. Some people would disagree.
I would disagree with that.
No, I agree with it. I think that the 4 have been historically what we look at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to stay at. You don't hear tennis talking about having another major.
Tennis, they still play that sport?
Yes.
Totally have forgotten about tennis. Jason Day at 9 under ties the course record. That's a 6-3. Cameron Tringali, 7 under 65, along with Shane Lowry, Justin Rose, Bill Haas, Brendan Steele. Then at 6 under, Francesco Molinari, Hudson Swafford, Ernie Els, Brooks Koepka, Daniel Berger, Boo Weekley. At 5 under, Jerry Kelly, Gary Woodland, James Hahn, your winner last week, Danny Lee, Nick Taylor, Jonathan Vegas, Jonas Blixt, Ryan Palmer, Zach Johnson, Alex Cheka, all at 5 under. Very tight leaderboard. You've got, let's see, the 5 unders. That takes you through 22 golfers at from the lead down to 5 under. Here's some comments from Bill Haas as he talked to PGA Radio after his round. A 7 under 65 could have been a little bit better, but being the humble guy he is, he realizes it could have been a little bit worse as well. Let's listen in.
Well, Bill, let's talk about your round today. I thought you were going to go 8 under the way you were putting the ball. You just missed that birdie at 18.
I mean, that was a long putt at 18. I'm happy with 4 there anytime. But I hit a nice shot into 17. I was about 6 feet there. Would have liked to have made that one to get to 8. But 7 under around this place. I mean, it was about as calm as it can be. I mean, no wind to speak of hardly. Maybe about 3 to 4 miles an hour coming down the stretch. But with the greens being receptive as they are, that's the reason you're seeing such good scores.
You know, I love following you when you're in rhythm like you were today because everything seems to be so easy. Is it that easy when you're out there?
No, I mean, I'm grinding still. Okay. I mean, it felt good, but I made a 30-footer or 40-footer on number 6 for birdie, and I made a couple short ones. So I did the things that you had to do to make it a 65. Certainly could have been a 68 or 9 pretty easily, but then again, at the putt at 17, and I missed a short one at 2 as well. So, you just got to take the ones you get and be happy that the greens are perfect. I mean, they're rolling. So if you get one rolling online, you feel like you can make a putt.
You know, the fairways are firm and fast, and for some people, they don't like them cut down like they are. You must like it like that because they're kind of sitting up nice, aren't they?
I mean, yeah, the fairways are great. Like you said, I think if you hit a nice quality drive, they're running out a little bit. I think you're going to see some guys. I mean, your Jason Days, I bet, and Justin Rose. I played with him last week, and he was just pounding the ball. So I would think if they hit a correct drive like they want, they can hit a lot of shorter irons than normal around this place. So today was the day you had to get it. I'm sure we're going to get some wind on the weekends. The greens, you can already feel them starting to maybe get some firmness to them. So come Sunday, you won't see the scores like you're seeing.
All right, Bill Haas on PGA Radio after his round today of 7 under 63. Yeah, 65. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of 63, 64, 65 as you get into the weekend. There's some weather moving this way. There's some rain coming through. Wind will be coming through. But Bubba, did I mention Bubba Watson shot 3 under 69 today? But Ernie Els, that's got to be another story besides Jason Day. Ernie Els, who hasn't done a whole lot this year, 6 under 66 for him. We'll be right back. Hit a home run with Founders Federal Credit Union coming soon to Tigertown. Founders Clemson location will be open soon. For now, check out our 4 on-campus ATMs. That would be their 4 on-campus ATMs. I wish I owned some ATMs, but these would be Founders ATMs. And they have them on campus at Clemson. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. I got to do this. I've been putting this off. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do it now. High school baseball and softball tournaments.
Oh, Lord.
All right. In the 1A, we're going to start with the 1As because my heart and soul is in the 1A lower state where Latta is waiting on either East Clarendon or Lakeview to get there. They played last night. Don't know who won. Mm-hmm. It's not on the high school
I
league
thought
website.
They were playing McBee. Oh, is that so?
Well, no, McBee's on in the upper state.
Okay.
McBee is in the same position, waiting on Louisville or Dixie. The key is McBee and Latta are sitting in the prime spots in 1A baseball. In 2A baseball, 2A baseball, you have, the upper and lower state finals are set. Cheraw will host Strom Thurmond tomorrow. Cheraw is the team that's in the undefeated position, and Ainer will host Bishop England. In 3A, I keep hitting softball. In 3A baseball, we've got, it's incomplete as far as the information here. We had BHP and Wren playing In the upper states and in the lower state, you had Hilton Head and St. James. This is just too incomplete to talk about, so let's forget that. 4A baseball. 4A. All right, Carolina Forest in the lower state is in the winner's position, waiting on Somerville or White Knoll. In the upper state, J.O. Mann is in the winner's position, waiting on T.L. Hanna or Easley. And those games were played yesterday. I guess they were played yesterday, unless they were rained out. They just have not been updated in the bracket. Now, softball in 1A. Oh, look who's waiting in the winner's position in the lower state. That would be the Vikingettes of Latta. What a power. What an athletic power we are. And academics.
Oh, yeah.
Latta is the best of both worlds, athletics and academics. Anyway, they're waiting on either East Clarendon or Hannah Pamplico. Dixie in the upstate, waiting on Fox Creek or Louisville. In 2A softball, you have got Dillon, boo, in the winner's position, waiting on Johnsonville, Battery Creek. Buford in the upstate, waiting on Chesney or Crescents. I'm sure people know who those winners are, but we don't. 3A, once again, is too incomplete to even talk about. 4A, Stratford and Somerville will play. Stratford's in the winner's position in the lower state. Upper state, Burns and Lugoff Elgin. Burns is in the winner's position. Is Burns good in everything almost?
Yes.
It just seems like they're always in championships. All right, that'll do it. Thank you, Pro. Enjoyed it. Thank you, Carson. Great job as always. Have a great night. We will get you ready for the sports weekend tomorrow night here on Sports Talk. We'll see you then.